What's up, race fans? It's Friday, April 26th, and this is the official podcast of the House of Power, the Orange County Fair Speedway. We call it Talkin Dirty with Jake, and I am your host, Jake. So we were off last weekend in observance of a holiday, so no race recap tonight. Instead, I want to recap our greatest of all time fan vote that's been going on our website for the past couple weeks. So, in week one of the GOAT vote, we had Jackie Evans versus Buzzy Rudiman, with Buzzy Rudiman taking it with 85% of the vote. The second matchup in week one was Rags Carter versus Danny Johnson. This one was a bit closer, with Rags Carter taking it with 55% of the vote. Danny Johnson, very popular and very competitive still, snagging only 45% of votes, not enough to win. He will not be advancing to the next round. In our second week of the vote, we had Jerry Higbee versus Gary Ballou, another super close one, and what some might consider an upset, with Gary Ballou losing with only 46% of the vote to Jerry Higbee, who is again another competitor who is still racing and still very competitive at the track. So that was an interesting one. The second matchup of week two was Chuck McKee versus Bobby Botcher. That, and again, extremely close. Bobby Botcher won it with only 53% of the vote. Moving on right to week three. Week three was Will Cagle versus Ray Brown. And in that matchup, Wiley Will took it with 77% of the vote. The other matchup of week three was Brett Hearn versus Tim Hindley. And this one was interesting. This one was a back and forth, and Brett Hearn got a taste of it, posted it on his Facebook, and blew it out of the water and took 62% of the vote, winning that and moving on to round two. Week four was Carl Van Horn versus Sonny Strupp. And Carl Van Horn, who we had just honored with our opening night landslide victory, 74% of the vote. The second matchup of week four was a doozy, was Tommy Meyer versus Jeff Hetzler. And the Jeffer, he rallied hard, and he took it with 72% of the vote. He really just dominated that one. And that brings us right up to this week, week five, where we have two matchups, one between Jimmy Horton and Wayne Rudiman, and another between Stuart Friesen and Bob Malzahn. So this week we've got two Halmar guys that are still racing with Halmar Racing right now, and we have two guys who were Southern invaders to our track, two guys that had come from down south to race at Orange County back in the day. So interesting matchups there, and that vote is live until Sunday, April 28th, the day after our Back the Blue Law Enforcement Appreciation Night event, which is what I want to talk a little bit about now. So I'm pretty excited about this weekend's Back the Blue event. We've got big blocks, small blocks, sportsmen, and our street stock division is off for the week and will return the next. We've got live music at the 31st Lap Tavern. We've got $1 off Jaeger bombs at the bar. We've got $4 draft Kona Brewing Company longboard lagers. It's delicious craft beer. It's not that kind of like craft beer that's kind of weird. It tastes just like a regular beer. It's really good. I don't know much about beer. I'm kind of just not a good judge, but it was good. Anyway, what else we got going on? We've got the new pulled pork sandwiches, and we got $1 off coupons for those in this week's hard clay program, which we'll distribute for free to fans as they come through all gates of the Speedway. Of course, that is while supplies last. So get there, gates open at 4:30 this week. So consider being there at or before 4:30 if you're trying to get your hands on that program and that $1 off coupon. What else? Oh, of course. 3 New York Giants legends will be at the Speedway meeting fans and signing autographs. We've got Carl Banks, Sean Landeta, and Howard Cross. And these three Super Bowl winners will be hanging out in what I like to call Champions Plaza, behind the grandstands. And you can meet with them and get an autograph. We'll have little cards that they'll autograph for you. We'll be handing those out as well. And yeah, pretty crazy. Big Blue and Back the Blue. And it's all going down Saturday, April 27th. Gates open, 4:30 p.m. So as excited as I am for this Back the Blue event coming up here, I'm also really excited to release this interview. We've got a really exciting one this week, and I think, we recapped the GOAT vote, and we talked a little about what's coming up. We've got Back the Blue night this Saturday, April 27th. The next Saturday, May 4th, the War of the Stars. May the 4th be with you. It's gonna be a wild night. So anyway, let's move on to the second part of the show where you don't have to hear me talk about whatever. You get to listen to me ask more interesting people questions. The interview segment. Here we go. All right, here we are. We're in Anthony Perrego's shop here in, where are we? Slate Hill.
Slate Hill, yep.
Slate Hill. So we're here with Anthony, driver of the number 44, Superior Remodeling, Big Block Modified. Anthony, how's it going?
Everything's going well. Just getting ready to go for the weekend here.
So where are you headed? Just Orange County this weekend, or do you have multiple races scheduled?
We kind of made a last-minute decision to go to Albany, Saratoga tomorrow with the Graham car, so we're going to head and do that. And then pretty much all hands on deck, trying to build a new small block for Saturday. We got banged up pretty bad opening night, so build a new frame body, and we'll have that ready for Saturday.
So it's your intention to run every small block, big block race in Orange County, right?
Yep. At first we were going to do the series, and me and Brian talked it over, and I'm racing for Ray Graham on the Super Dirt Series. So there's a couple conflicts, but our intentions are to run every week at Middletown now with the money.
So I think you probably expect this question, but big speculation going into opening night at OCFS was whether or not we would see you because of the conflicting Super Dirt Series race at Can-Am. Ultimately, we did see you. What kind of led to that decision, or what was that like coming to that decision, or whose decision was it?
Yeah, me and Ray, Ray called me there to run the Super Dirt Series, and Middletown really didn't have a schedule out yet, so I took the deal running and spoke to Brian here with the Superior team before I even took the deal, just to see what his thoughts of it were, and he was cool with it. So that left Middletown. Probably you knew there was going to be a conflict at some point. The series had their schedule out and everything, but we kind of took it, and talking with Ray a month here or two later, he said, you might not have took my deal if you knew what they're paying there. So, to be loyal with Brian, this will be our third year racing together now. He does a lot for me in my career. So, Ray said he thought it'd be best to go to Middletown.
Wow. And so how did you get hooked up with Ray Graham, right? Ray Graham is the car owner of your Super Dirt Series car, right? Yep.
I think working at TO in the wintertime, that kind of led to it. Matt Hearn, he comes with me pretty much every race. There'll be a couple that he misses when he has his deal with the HBR team there, but Matt Hearn's pretty much with me 98% of my races. So, him and Matt were speaking. He was building new chassis. He switched from Troyer to TO, so I think Peter Britton there, he was, on the fence of what he was going to do, and he had Danny Johnson, so just worked out in our favor.
Yeah, so how long has this been in the works? Has it always kind of been your goal to race the Super Dirt Series? Has this been a dream of yours almost?
Yeah, definitely. We do a lot of Dale racing with Brian, and prior to that with Gary Mann, I've been running the Dale stuff for, since he started the series. So we've been doing a lot of traveling, hit and miss some Super Dirt Series stuff, but I think I'm at the point in my career where we got to go do a little bit more racing, upstate New York, a little different tracks, get some learning under my belt.
Yeah, I mean, your 2018 run at Orange County was impressive, to say the least. I mean, you had a lot of feature wins in both small block and big block. Was there kind of a feeling that now was the time to kind of expand and see what you can do at other tracks and kind of grow the Anthony Perrego brand, so to say?
Yeah, I mean, definitely last year, great year all around. Besides Orange County, even on the road, we were running really well. We won 19 times overall. So.
Yeah, you had a couple of short track Super Series wins too, right?
Yep. So that was pretty good. I mean,
got that surfboard, right?
Beach Blast. That was pretty cool. Hanging up right here.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's a very cool trophy. One of the coolest trophies I've seen given out.
So I think I'm to the point in my career where it'd be good to go and branch out, do some different stuff. You race against 90% of the guys there are at the series races. So
right.
Just a couple different tracks. Tires are a little bit different, so it'll be a little bit of learning. But I think it'll better our program for back home here at Middletown, and obviously Deo stuff.
So a lot of big name guys race Middletown yearly anyway for like the big events like Eastern States and stuff. So I imagine a lot of the guys you're running against in Super Dirt, you've run against before, at least at Orange County or in short track Super Series,
definitely,
right?
Yeah.
Is there anybody out there in particular this season that kind of poses a challenge, or do you think is going to be a kind of a constant fierce competitor?
You got, Shepard. He's good wherever he goes, especially upstate New York. That's his bread and butter up there. He loves those racetracks. And
for a while, you had something on him there. He didn't have any wins at Orange County. He finally broke that.
Yeah, he broke that. He was pretty good here a couple weeks ago, and he's been good all year long. We dueled with him there at Port Royal. We came out atop there, but Matt's Matt. He's pretty fast. I mean, you'll have Friesen at majority of them. He's fast wherever he goes. All them guys up there, they've been doing it for quite some time, a little bit longer than I have. So, it'd be good to go up there and learn. We might not come out, the greatest, but I know we can do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you definitely put on a pretty good show at Port Royal. It definitely sets the precedent, I think, for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think people are definitely expecting to see some serious moves out of you out there. Speaking of Friesen and the number 44, you're also a 44. Is there any history to that number? Was there a significance, a reason why you run 44?
That was Brian's number here. Prior, Crummell ran it when he was racing Sportsman for Brian. I believe it's the ladder where he works in the city for FDNY.
You see a lot of 44s. I don't know. It just seems like it's a very popular number
pretty
on
popular.
race cars.
A lot of places we're duct taping an X on it or whatever.
Right. Yeah. What would be your number if you chose it? I mean, you have like did you ever run a car with a number of your choosing?
Yeah, when I was racing Sportsman, number was 18. I had when I was racing Slingshots, number was 1. There was quite a few 1s in the modified rank, so that's why I switched to 18. There was only a couple. We never really ran into a problem where we were putting an X on the car or something like that.
Right,
so 18 stuck pretty well. We switched to 55 with Gary Mann. That was his number, and now we got a whole slew of numbers. Down in Delaware, Gary Simpson's car is number 12.
Right. Yeah, and didn't you run a small block at one point? Maybe 2017 was it? Did you run a small block?
Yeah, it was. We ran small block only with Brian, 44. Yep.
Oh, okay, you were 44 in that car. Right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I'd seen you in another car. It's interesting in dirt. There's so many weird numbers out there versus like NASCAR or something where you kind of come into a ride and that's the number it is the number it is. You guys kind of get to choose a little bit and get a little weird with it. You got guys like, Greg Slate's number is Slate or something. It's kind of neat. Yeah. So I'm always curious like why people chose their numbers or how they got their numbers, if it's just inherited or that's cool. I mean, I like 44. I don't know what it is. It's a good number. Everybody seems to run it. Good guys seem to be running 44. Just seems to be
44.
Cozy used to run 44.
Right,
Stu in it now. You run it. There's a couple more even in Orange County in different classes.
Yeah, I think Jablanca.
Yeah, Shane's in that.
Yeah.
Growing up, what is kind of your history with racing? I mean, how long have you been racing in one form or another?
I've been probably going to racing since I was 3-4 years old. You know, my dad raced at Middletown for quite a few years. He branched out, was doing some small block series stuff upstate New York. He ran Afton on Friday nights, Accord. You know, he traveled quite a bit, so, you know, I was with him majority of the time. Branched out, and I started racing the slingshot. We raced a lot in Pennsylvania, you know, Oakland Valley, Hamlin. We raced pretty much all over the place. We went to Talladega Short Track. Pretty cool events with that. So we got some travel and some different tracks. You know, got a feel about racing a different track pretty much every other week. So that was pretty good.
So you started more or less with slingshots and then worked your way up to modifieds from there. So you've always kind of been and you said with your dad, right? So you've always been a dirt guy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Were you ever into asphalt racing or anything?
I raced a go-kart a couple times at Poughkeepsie,
but
never really was interested in it. You know, I always liked dirt tracks. It was fun. You know, I don't really remember much of it, but I remember going and doing it.
So you said your dad drove small block. Other than your father, who I'm sure was an inspiration and a hero to you, did you have any other guys coming up that you kind of looked up to as, you know, your heroes, racing heroes, or guys that, you know, you wanted to emulate someday in your own career?
Yeah, and I would say when I was younger, when my dad was racing, obviously a Brett Hearn fan, you know. People in the stands, they didn't quite like Brett, but, you know, I thought it was pretty cool what he was doing and what he'd done up to that point, you know. So I was a fan of his. When I was 16, I worked for Jerry Higbee, so, you know, I was helping him out on his car when I wasn't racing. So kind of followed along with him, and, you know, then there when he was driving for Gary Mann, I got the opportunity to race that car, and been off and running.
So it's interesting, kind of your two heroes are now also guys that you race full-time with at Orange County. Is there, you know, obviously I've talked to a lot of guys, and a lot of people cite Brett as their kind of, you know, their hero growing up or their inspiration for racing and stuff. And, you know, what's the excitement like to, you know, obviously you've raced against him before in years past, but now that he's full-time at Orange County, is there kind of a heightened excitement, or maybe a kind of a stronger desire to win and perform well and beat your hero?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Brett there this year. It'd be cool to click off a couple more wins, you know, like we did last year. You know, obviously people there might say, hey, Perrego might not be as good this year. Brett Hearn's here, you know. So it'd be cool to, you know, go there and click a couple off, maybe pass Brett for a win or two. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you know, a lot of people think, like, obviously that Brett is going to, you know, throw it off and he's going to win a bunch of features, and all these guys like you and, you know, Jerry and other regulars that have been there for consistently for years have got, you know, all this harsh competition now. And after our first race, you know, we did see Brett run strong, but you were also running strong, although, you know, you had an incident there. What, you know, I've seen you win a number of features at Orange County coming from pretty far back. I mean, really, you don't seem to be slowed down by a, you know, 15th starting position. You can get right back up there in these regular Saturday night features. But on a longer race, like last opening night's 71 lapper or Eastern States, say, what's kind of there's a different strategy, obviously, to a longer race, right? I mean, how do you cope with that as someone who's strong weekly? You know, what are you thinking going into like a extra distance race? Like, how do you try to adapt your style, or how are you trying to get that edge?
Yeah, I mean, just more patience with the longer distance races. You know, last Saturday we were rolling around pretty good there, and kind of got into turn 3 a little hot. Stewie got back by us, and, you know, we were still putting the pressure on him. Fortunately, we got in the hole and cut the right rear tire down on the header. You know, just header kind of moved over, got on the right rear tire, right rear flat. not much really we could do about there. But, Eastern States, we ran really well the past qual 3. I got second that one year. Small block races, we always seem to be there. First year I ran for Brian, we ended up third. We're right in the hunt. Just it's all about putting it together, a little luck on your side.
Yeah, little luck. That's all you're missing at this point is a little luck,
yeah.
right? You've gotten close, but
Yeah,
you need all the stars to align for that win, right?
Yeah, last year there, the Super Dirt Series race, I think we were about a second faster in the field in the time trials, and we came around the heat race on lap 5 and broke a rear end, so that put us behind the 8 ball all night long, So you just need everything to go your way, and, obviously a lot more patience, longer distance races, all about keeping the right rear tire on it, and, I would say here this year I think we can pull it together.
Now, on those longer races, are they a little more exhausting? I mean, you guys aren't like NASCAR. You don't go out and run like 500 laps or 250 miles or, typical features, 30 lap or 50 lap or, so doing like the Eastern States 200, is it drastically different feeling like in terms of exhaustion and like, how tiring it is? I mean, you're a pretty young guy. I don't think you have as much of an issue with staying in shape, but I can definitely imagine it's pretty exhausting to go 200 laps versus a regular night of 30.
Yeah, I would say you're a little bit more tired, but race really isn't as long as you think. A lot of yellow laps. Your brain's working for 200 laps instead of 30. So you got a little bit of a headache when you go home, but if the night goes well, that it's all worth it.
That doesn't sound so bad. As a fan, I go home with a headache. So
Yeah, it's not really tiring at all, to be honest.
That's interesting. I mean, there's such a age range of drivers. Like I said, your favorite drivers growing up are still running now, and there are guys even older than that are still running, and everybody seems to maintain a pretty even playing field. I mean, some of the older guys are still winning features and still running strong. Do you see yourself doing this for the next 50 years?
Yeah, I would say, as long as the opportunities are there, I think this is pretty much what I do. I don't have a full-time job. My full-time job's here, working at my house on the 18 cars. So week to week, this is what I do. I'm full-time, both shops. We'll have 4 cars here within the next month and 2 cars at my house. So it's pretty busy. Once we get racing here, we're going to race about 110 times. So it all works out.
110 races on your schedule.
Yeah, I'd say somewhere around there.
It's impressive, man. Wow. And now last year's Super Dirt Series at Middletown, the Battle of the Midway. Was that your first dirt race, or have you done Super Dirt races before?
I've done them. With Gary Mann, I would say we went to Florida twice with Gary. I ran, I would say, about a handful a year with Gary. I was with him for about 3 years. So, there's plenty we went to. Just we haven't really hit the Canada tracks real far upstate. A couple of them been to Weedsport, Canandaigua, Malta, Fulton I've been to. So it'd be cool to run a couple different tracks, learn them. It's pretty much a learning year for me in the series.
Do you ever do any iRacing stuff? Are you one of these guys? Do you play around with iRacing?
I got iRacing. A couple of my friends there, Rashinsky's, they're from down in PA. They race 5 Mile Point, Big Diamond area. They're on there. Matt Hearn, he's on there. During the winter, we're on there about every night. Here it slows down a little bit, but we still try to get on. Last night we were on for Easter. I think it's beneficial for getting back behind the wheel. Definitely keeps you in.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of drivers use it to stay sharp during the off season, to try out tracks that they haven't raced before, and it's pretty. I actually just noticed a bunch of people over the weekend posting that they were playing iRacing and racing each other. A couple drivers from our track.
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat. I mean, what is other than that? I mean, what's something you do to kind of prepare for a track you've never been to? I mean, if you're going to go up to these tracks in Canada for the first time this year, I mean, what's kind of what's the first thing you're doing when you get to the track?
Obviously, you're going to take a look at it and see, try to compare it to somewhere where you've been to. been to. Obviously, Matt Hearn, he has a lot of knowledge about being there, so he'll definitely be a good helping hand. You got to be good right out of the box, so obviously Matt is what I need. He'll have the car pretty tuned up when we get there, so it's just about, as a driver, looking at the track and comparing it to somewhere where you've been, just to turn a good lap in that time trial.
So you mentioned Matt Hearn and working with your team to kind of get the car set up for different tracks or whatever you're doing. How many guys do you got working on your team?
I got one guy. He's here pretty much every day. He gives me a hand washing the cars, maintaining. I have two other guys. One, he works on the motors. He's here quite a bit. I would say he's here 4 to 5 days a week, out of 7. So Mike definitely helps me out there. I got a couple guys. There's probably, I would say, at race night we got about 7 guys there with us to keep things going.
Is it, do you find that it's easy to find good help to work on the race cars, or is it kind of hard to, you do this full time, but a lot of guys don't, and a lot of guys, team guys, don't either. I mean, they're all kind of pulling together whatever time they have and working on it. Have you you find that it's easy to find help, or
right now we have group of people that I have behind me is by far the best that I've had. Mike, I've known him for about 6, actually since I was a little kid. I knew him since he was working on Timmy Heinley stuff, and he helped with Gary Mann's motors, and Brian had him here when Crummell was racing the sportsman car, so he kind of stuck around. He comes to every race with me. Walter, he's here every other day. He's here working on the car. He comes to every race. So it's just to find guys that can come everywhere is tough. Walt's retired, Mike's retired, right. So they're definitely, they can make it.
Right.
My dad, obviously he gets off work to go wherever. During the week I don't see him too much. He'll stop out here at night, but he makes it to every track. Brian being full-time firefighter, and obviously the business here with Superior Remodeling, tough for him to be in the shop, but we keep it going here. Less stress on him if we can keep this going 100% without him having to worry about anything.
Yeah, I mean, you were wrenching when I came through here. I imagine you do a lot of stuff yourself too. I mean, just working on the car, and that probably keeps you busy, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. This is a 7-day-a-week job. There's no really days off. I'm always here or at my house working on the other cars. We're building another car for Ray Graham now at TO, so things are busy here. It slows down sometimes. You get a rain out or two, that's good. Try to get things back in shape. Once we get going full steam here with 4 cars here, 2 cars there. Gary Simpson's cars down in Delaware. Thank God they work on that for me. That'd be a tough deal to get down there and help him out, but definitely busy days.
Yeah. So I mean, jumping back and forth between so many cars, I mean, does it? Obviously, every car is kind of tailored for the kind of racing and the tracks you're visiting and stuff, but they're all TOs, right?
Yep, everything's TO.
Yeah. So I mean, do you notice? Is there kind of like one car versus another that you feel more comfortable with, or it feels more like, when you slide in, it's like a glove, and it just feels like everything, it just lines up and you hit the track and you just kill it? Definitely.
There's cars that you'll have that are, it doesn't seem like anything you do that it doesn't work. Our big block last year was really good. We built another new one here this year. Seems just as good as the last one, but like you said, jumping into a different car, you'll get a different feel for one. There's 3 in this shop, and they're all pretty close. Delaware, he's got a little different motor combination, so it takes a little bit of adjustment, the hot laps, but usually they're all pretty close.
So as the driver, though, I mean, that must mean like that you personally have to be very adaptable, right? I mean, you got to your skill has to be to just get in that car and kind of immediately start to adjust yourself and the car to the track, and it's like almost like man and car becomes one, and you just go out there and do your thing, huh?
Yeah, exactly. once you hop in, obviously a small block drives a little different than a big block, but it usually about a lap or two, it comes right to you, and you're off and run.
Wow. So with Orange County celebrating 100 years this year, it's obviously big year for the Speedway, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. The 100th anniversary race obviously is the big, the big piece of it all, right? This big 100,000 to win race. As somebody who last year's big block champion, multiple feature wins, you're definitely, I would guess, one of the top 5 favorites to take that race. What's kind of your what's kind of your strategy going into that race, and 2, what's your excitement level, and how do you keep it real, knowing that 100,000 is on the line and that you have as good a chance as anybody else, if not better, to get that. How do you keep your cool?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to build a new car for that race. We're in the process of building a frame for that right now, so we'll have time to massage it. We'll probably race it once or twice before that race, so it's good to go there with all new equipment. Obviously I'm very fortunate for what I have there. The other thing is, when you get out there and you're racing, you're not really thinking about the money that's on the line. Maybe it is there in the back of your head, but when I'm there, I'm just focused on trying to get to the front if we're not there, or if we're out front, just staying there.
So building a new car, what's kind of your, it seems like you want to hit that race, you want to hit the track with a fairly new car, right? But also it seems like you definitely want to get some track time in with it before, right, to kind of break it in, get the feel of it. And is that like a tough decision, kind of weighing how many races to test it to go into that? I mean, obviously things could happen. You could have, accident on the track. You could have any number of things that might mess up that car before you get to that big race. Is that something that you're thinking about? Like, do you have to kind of strategically plan that? Is there a backup plan? Do you go out there with the other car if all else fails? Or
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why we're building that right now. Right now, Brian's only got one big block car. Last year, we banged one up at a Dale race and had to scramble to get one ready for Saturday. So it's always good to have 2, especially with the amount of racing we do. Brian's cutting back a little bit this year, but we're still going to race a whole bunch with it. So to have 2 big blocks, that's always good. Even if something happened on the Saturday night right now, our hands are tied, we'd be trying to fix this one to get back out there. So good to have another one in the trailer with you. Coming to that race, yeah, I mean, you never know. This car sitting in the shop here could, very possibly go out and pick off 3 or 4 wins, and then you're kind of like, oh, what do we do? This car's good.
It becomes hard to choose.
Then you haven't raced this one yet. So, yeah, it's kind of a play by ear, but
either way, it sounds like it's beneficial to have a second car, a second big block anyway.
Definitely coming to Eastern States, after the 100,000 to win race, you can kind of time trial 2 cars if you have a big block. So if you get an early draw, years prior, you kind of drop down in the time trials a little bit. Track takes a little more rubber, so it'll be good to have that second car there to turn 2 sets of time trials and all that. So
I noticed your short track series car has got a similar paint scheme, same number, but mixed it up a little bit. Went with the flat black look. It looks a little meaner, a little tougher. Was there a reason you just wanted to kind of mix it up and differentiate the cars a little bit?
Not really. The big block was lettered way back in January. This car here, we lettered it about a week before the hard clay, and Tio got some flat black aluminum in. He wanted to try it out, see how it was going to hold up. So lettering guys, they want to do a little something different with Brian's car. So, they showed it to Brian. Brian liked it. I think we'll just keep that for our Deo deal.
So it's a little bit of a test of the matte finish
Check
on the TO
out.
panels. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks it's a unique look. I don't know. I mean, it was trendy with cars like years ago, right? To go to the flat black, but I don't know if I'd ever really seen that many modifieds do it. So it's a little unique. It's kind of it was cool to see you at the not the Orange County season opener, but the Deo show that opened our season. It was cool to see you hit the track with something a little different.
Yeah, definitely looks good. I like it. You never know here. Next year they could all look like that, Problem is, the trailer's lettered up with the car on there. So, try to get that all confused, It's tough. So to have one different, pretty cool. So,
I love that
the
trailer's all lettered up though, because I hear like I'm not an old head, right? I mean, like I'm 32 this year, so it's not like I've been coming here since the 60s, like a lot of our fans, right? But I know a lot of guys like kind of miss the days of open trailers and being able to see the cars on the road and coming in, and with closed trailers it's a little less exciting. But at least you've got this nice big trailer with the car on the side. You see that thing coming down the highway, it's going to a racetrack, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely cool. We and Brian talked about it, actually getting a letter going to that. DOT kind of gives you a little bit of an issue with that, but all good so far. Keep rolling.
Yeah, I've heard from guys that they don't want to letter their trailers because of DOT and stuff, and it's a bummer because for the track, it's great advertising for cars to be out there on the road and for people to be like, wow, especially when you see these big haulers, because it really like illustrates just how much goes into this. I mean, this isn't just like a couple of rednecks in the backyard, like, running circles. Like, this is the real deal. Like, this is big money, and these are guys that are in some cases professional athletes. Like, in your case, this is your full-time thing. So the idea that you get to see this big old hauler out there with the, Anthony Perrego and the car on the side, it's pretty neat. And you think like, man, that guy must be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, definitely get you some exposure, obviously for Brian's business, sponsors on the race car, all good,
Yeah, I mean, does he, do you talk to Brian about that? Like, does he benefit a lot from sponsorship? I mean,
I would say a little bit. I haven't really talked to him about it, but obviously, racing here in the Middletown area, it probably gets his name out there. Obviously, truck driving down the road, maybe someone says, oh, it's a pure remodeling,
Yeah.
Obviously the distance and all that for what he does, you're not going to drive 4 hours away.
Right, if you're up racing in Can-Am, I don't think anybody's going to hire.
But, you never know what it leads to.
Right. Yeah, well, it's racing and sponsorship has always gone hand in hand, so it's like there got to be something to it, right? Because it's always been that race cars have sponsors, and it's got to do something for these sponsors, right, for it to have gone on like this for so long.
Yeah, definitely, keep them involved. Obviously Brian loves the sport, and hopefully many years to come.
So, many years to come. What is, now you're on the Super Dirt Series full-time. You're running it for points, right? What's the next thing? I mean, where do you go from here? I mean, let's assume you get your dirt championship your rookie year. Is there another level you're looking to step it up to, or?
Yeah, right now it's dirt modified. If there's an opportunity to go do something else, say a late model, say go race a truck, I'd probably take it. It'd be kind of dumb not to. I watch a lot of late model racing. I would like to try my hand in it. T-Mac's doing well with what he's doing, and we never know what it leads to.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen any of the late model stuff. That always interests me too. I mean, I'm more of a, I grew up with NASCAR and dirt, so it's like, I really, with the late model stuff, I'm starting to get into that a little bit, knowing Gary Ballou and Stuart Friesen there did a little bit of it on asphalt. So it's starting to get acquainted with that stuff, and I'm curious to, if everything continues to grow like it is, if dirt racing continues to thrive, and we create all sorts of new interest and get all sorts of new people coming to Orange County, and we grow the sport and we give opportunities to guys to start, advancing their careers. Kind of, I wonder, like, where do they go from here? What's kind of what's the next step? Obviously, I think, you've got a pretty promising future ahead of you. I mean, young guy, got a lot of wins, You're moving up in dirt. Eventually, there's going to be some kind of jump, right? I mean, because now you're kind of at the highest level in our sport.
Yeah, I mean, you're at the highest level of sport. I mean, obviously, you want to try to be that top guy at our level right now, and we're working towards it. You never really know what the future holds. I keep working hard for what I have here. You got
to talk Brian into putting together a truck for you for Eldora. That's what you got to do.
That'd be pretty cool to do something like that.
Just try to run Eldora and see how it goes.
Yeah. So that's it. Work hard at what we do here, and you never know what it can come to.
Well, I am very excited to see what you do this season. It was a pretty exciting debut. You and Stu and Hearn and Bicchetti there battling it out. It was an amazing race. It's unfortunate how it shook out for you, but I think obviously you got a lot more racing to do this season, so I think it's going to shape up. What do you want? What's the because obviously we talked about this before, the dirt and the Orange County conflict. The big one is the Champions Night at Orange County is also a dirt race. And I'm sure you've asked yourself this, and I'm sure you don't have an answer. What happens when you get to that day and you have just as good a chance as winning the championship at Orange County as you do at dirt? I mean, how do you even go about making that decision?
Yeah, I mean, at first, we talked about, like, say, Can-Am could have felt the weather. There was still quite a bit of snow up there, and it melted down. But you never knew that next week there at Fulton could have got canceled. So then you lose two that you didn't have to worry about. But now I think that we chose to go to Middletown the first night. It's going to be kind of tough to come back in the series, missing a points race. We're going to miss another one here next week. So really, obviously now the decision's not that hard but to go to Middletown. But, it was very possible there that last night could have been a decision maker. And, you're $50,000 to win the Super Dirt Series title. You got $15,000 for a small block, $40,000 for a big block. So, right. Tough decision there.
And you definitely have a shot at both small block and big block at Orange County. So it's definitely a I myself and many fans, I think, have been wondering and asking these questions ever since, they heard that you were going to run Super Dirt. Again, it's very, very cool. It was very cool to see you there at opening night. Yeah. I mean, I think, I as somebody who works for the track, I don't necessarily have favorites. I kind of just am there to see some good racing, and as long as the racing is good, I'm happy. And it's always a good show when Anthony Perrego's there. So I was definitely just like everybody else, like hoping you'd be there. And
yeah, it all worked out. Do the full season in Middletown, and we don't know where next year leads right now, but our concentration's on doing what we're set out to do here at Middletown, and obviously do the best we can now in the series with missing a couple events. But it'll all work out, and see what happens.
Well, I definitely think whether you're at Middletown, whether you continue with the Dirt Series, definitely big things for Anthony. And I think we're going to see you in a truck at Eldora in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
I think it's coming. Somebody's going to put you in a truck.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Yeah. Hey, you never know. There might be somebody out there who listens to this and says, "Oh, we'll give this kid a shot."
I hope so, man. That would mean good things for me too. That means somebody at NASCAR is listening to the podcast. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Well, Anthony, thank you for having me at your shop, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you stopping by.
It was great to sit down and do this, and good luck this Saturday. We'll see you at the track.
All right, cool. Thank you.